Great. Yep. This is the end of my life right now. I had a good one. She just was happy that I was still alive and actually in China. Hey guys, and happy summer to some of you. It is actually my second real day of summer, and it is May 22nd, so I'm coming to you guys with a new video. I'm sorry about the delay. I had a lot of testing and my parents wanted me to focus on that. So here I am back free as a YouTuber can be. So I have a story time for you, as you can tell. It is true, it is very comical, and it's also bringing back anxiety. Yeah, I really did think I was stolen on a Chinese plane. And this occurred last fall. I was in Shanghai for my first modeling trip, and my mom came with me, and it was a really good time and a good experience, and I was traveling for Kipling, and I'm not sure if you guys know what Kipling is, but basically it's a casual luggage, purse, wallet. Now they make scarves, I think, but I was their spokesmodel and face of Kipling for a month while I was in China, and they basically paid for trips for me to go around and say hi and wave and take pictures and say, oh, I like this luggage, oh, I like this scarf, and it was a good time. I really like Kipling, and their products are pretty good, so this is not sponsored by Kipling, but I'm thankful for the job they provided me on my first trip as a model. Anyways, I was in Shanghai, and this was actually my first city I was going to. It's called Chengdu, and Kipling has a lady who was basically my manager, and she was going with me to Chengdu, and my mom was actually staying in Shanghai for the weekend because this was a weekend show, and my parents decided to let me go solo and see how I would work as a 16-year-old. Yes, okay, at the time I was 16. When I got home from China, I turned 17. So at this moment in time, last fall, I was 16. And I went to Chengdu with this manager, and well, we call them bookers in modeling. So I went with my booker, and I went with another model who had been chosen as the Asian face for Kipling, and she was actually from South Korea. So being Korean, she knew enough English so that we could communicate, but not a lot. Her vocabulary was limited, as was my Chinese, and especially Korean. I actually do not know any Korean. So anyways, me and the booker, who spoke a little bit of English, went to the airport, met this other model, and we went to Chengdu. And we were going to be there for a weekend. We arrived on Friday. We were going to rehearse that night, work all of Saturday, and have another job, or have another show Sunday and leave. So I was there for 2 nights, well, really by myself, but with, my work. Did have a good time with the experience, and Chengdu is actually home of the panda bear and a really spicy soup that you've probably eaten called hot pot, and that's where it supposedly originated. So I really had a good, delicious, fun, exciting time there. Fast forward to the night we are leaving, and this is actually mid-evening. We are leaving about 3 or 4 o'clock after our show at 12 at this mall, actually. So we were at this mall in Chengdu doing the Kipling show, and I had a lot of fun taking pictures, and I actually met Asia's top child model, and she's adorable. She drew me something. I actually think I have it somewhere. Give me a sec. Okay, I found it. This is a drawing that Asia's top little girl model drew for me. And then this is a kitty cat. And I'm not sure what the rest is, but yeah, how sweet is this? So anyways, the Korean model and I go to the airport at Chengdu, and my booker is actually going to another city north of Shanghai for work and taking a train down to Shanghai. So my booker, who spoke English, was actually on a flight, I think, yeah, earlier. She left before us. On a flight earlier, so we said bye to her at the airport, and we went to our gate where we were going to, I thought, Minhang. And Minhang is a district of Shanghai where I was living with my mom, and this is also where my agency was, and this is also where a lot of my work was. So they have a small airport in Minhang. It's actually in Shanghai, but there's 2 airports in Shanghai, Minhang and Pudong. And Pudong is on the coast of China, and it is the huge international airport. Minhang is a little bit inland, and it is used for business and domestic travel. I think it goes to a few Southeastern Asia countries, and I get there and I cannot read. I cannot read where we're going. I cannot read what really what is happening. I don't know this airline, and all I see is a number, and I see 2.00. So I'm thinking 2 hours is our wait time, and the Korean model didn't seem to be in a rush, so I sat there for about 30 minutes, and I sat there for another 15 and decided I was hungry and I was gonna go get some food. I think it's about 5 something now. And I call my mom and I say, hi, we're at the airport, I'll be home. Or when I land, I'll tell you when we do land, and then my driver will take me to the hotel and I'll see you. So she was like, yeah, great, just keep me updated and send me a text when you're about to take off, and then call me when you land. So I was like, sure, bye. So I go and get some food, and then after that I go to Lacoste, and I just wanted to shop around, see what they had. I was happy I actually made some money. So I go in there and looking at a pair of pants that's my size, and actually I think like 50 or 60% off, and I'm in there and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm great on time. I have like probably an hour in here because I ate while walking around the airport. I had like dragon fruit, so I didn't know what was going to be available for snacks on the plane, and that's why I needed something because, you know, I'm vegan. And unfortunately, a lot of the things on their planes are dairy, and not really meat, but dairy. They had a lot of dairy snacks on the plane. It's really strange. Anyways, so I'm thinking I'm fine on time, and I leave the store because I'm deciding on these pants, and I go into like a store that's similar to like Pull and Bear or Juicy Couture, and it's, I think, Chinese version. I think it's the Chinese version. So I'm in there and I'm not really finding anything, but it's really cute. And so then I go back into Lacoste, and the worker is really happy to see me. He's like, okay, you decide on the pants. And I was like, well, you know, like, so we're standing there deciding about the pants, and in the back honestly, I hear final boarding more. And I'm like, more, and I'm like, this is me. And so I'm on the other side of the airport, really the other side of this, I would say, medium-sized airport, and I am running, and he says, okay, 65% off. I'm like, no, I've got to go catch my flight. So I grab my carry-on and I'm running across the airport, and I see this red buzzer flashing, and it's like, final boarding more. I'm like, oh my God, great. So I really dislike to be this person that holds everyone up, and I really try not to judge, but it really ticks me off when people do this. And here I am thinking I'm Miss Fashion Model signed with no, I am a loser running across the airport sweating, trying and like burping up dragon fruit. It's disgusting. So I get to the gate and they are mad at me, and they're like, and of course I'm the only foreigner on this flight, so I'm like, great, I'm just gonna sit here and not know that they're all talking about me. So I'm on the plane, and I'm actually sitting like 2 rows ahead of my Korean model friend, and I'm ahead of her, and she like doesn't want to know me. Like, I don't know how late I was. It could have been like 15 minutes. I wasn't gone that long, honestly. So she like glances up and like, you know, and like doesn't want to act like she knows me. I'm like, okay, great. I see how this is. Everyone's looking at me like gawking, like, what is this human on this planet? So they don't know that I'm just normal, and this happens a lot in China. If you're a model watching and you know, and you've been to Asia, they just all like to look at you, and it's really cute and everything. I'm sure we are very different, but they're all looking at me, and then some of them are looking at me like mad, and I'm just like, oh, do not want to be here right now. So I sit down, strap on my thing, turn on the airplane mode, and we're off. We're like taking off as I sit down. Honestly, the pilots were mad at me. They were like, just get on. So I'm on, and I'm trying to play Sudoku on my iPad, and the stewardess is like, this has to be on airplane mode, like airplane mode. This is all she can say, airplane mode. So I'm like, okay. So I turn it on airplane mode, and I'm sitting there for another 2 hours. This flight is supposed to take between 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours. So I'm like, great, I don't have anything else to do. Here comes the dairy food, and I'm like, oh, you know, trying not to breathe in the smell. So I am expecting to land in Minhang. And Minhang is a district of Shanghai where I was living with my mom. And this is also where my agency was, and this is also where a lot of my work was. So they have a small airport in Minhang. It's actually in Shanghai, but there's two airports in Shanghai, Minhang and Pudong. And Pudong is on the coast of China, and it is the huge international airport. Minhang is a little bit inland, and it is used for business and domestic travel. I think it goes to a few Southeastern Asia countries, and so we are, I think, landing in Minhang, where we took off, where I went with my booker and where we met the model to go to Chengdu. I think that's where we're landing because I can't read anything at the gate. So that is what I am thinking. I don't know how much Chinese the Korean model knew, but I doubt it's a lot considering our communication. So she was really nice, no hard feelings, but I'm sitting there on this plane just ready to go see my mom, ready to tell her about my fun time I had working. And the pilot comes on, and I'm like, oh, great, like, make sure you have your belts on, blah, 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 blah. No, I, like, put on my belt and everything, and everyone just, like, has theirs on, and so we continue for another 15 minutes. And at this point, I'm like, I should be feeling some elevation. I don't feel anything in my ears. I do not feel anything, like, when the plane is like this. So while this 15 minutes is passing, I'm getting a little bit concerned, like we should be starting to land now, and we don't. And I hear Los Angeles. I hear Los Angeles. I hear the pilot say Los Angeles, and I'm like, why aren't we beginning to land? Are we going to Los Angeles? Are we? Okay, sorry, my camera overheated. Anyways, where did we leave off? Okay, so we are flying over Minhang, and I am not putting two and two together. I think we're going to Los Angeles, but we're going to Pudong. We're going to Pudong, the coast, the airport that's on the coast of China. And so we fly for another 15 minutes, and within this 15 minutes, I'm sitting there sweating. I'm sitting there starting to cry. People don't know what's going on with me. I don't either, but I'm sitting there just in angst, honestly, because it was about halfway through, I realized we weren't going to Los Angeles, but now what do I do now that I'm going to Pudong? So we get there and we get out, and I'm walking towards the Korean model. What do I do? She's walking away from me, goes to meet her boyfriend, I guess. I mean, they kissed. Hopefully it wasn't her dad. So she goes off with this man, and I'm sitting there like, okay, great, yep, this is the end of my life right now. I had a good one. So I'm walking around, and there's no transportation that I can recognize other than metro and taxi. And I see taxi drivers, but they don't have any cars. They're all inside talking, and I go to ask them, can one of you drive me to Minhang, which is about an hour across Shanghai? And once they hear me speak English, they start laughing, and I walk away, embarrassed. So yeah, that was a little rude of them. They could have directed me to someone else in the airport, but I don't know why you would have taxi drivers and no cars. Strange. And the metro is closed, the subway, because they close at 10 o'clock at night, and it's 12, or it's 11 going on 12. And I call my mom. She's freaking out. She expected me to land about 25 minutes ago at this point. So she actually left me a voicemail crying, and I felt bad, and she just was happy that I was still alive and actually in China. So I told her I'm gonna call my agent, see if the driver can come to Minhang, or come to Pudong. And yeah, so I called my agent, and he didn't pick up like multiple times. So I'm a little sad or frustrated and mad. And so I call my dad, and it's actually 12 hours behind because China is 12 hours ahead of Georgia. So he is at lunch with his coworkers. He's like, hey, how did the job go? Well, why are you up? And yeah, you got home tonight, right? How's your mom? Let me speak to her. And I'm like, Dad. I told him the dilemma, and he's like, oh wow, this is yeah, you're in a pickle. And I was like, yeah, no crap. So I'm standing there, standing, and I'm walking around just crazy. And I go to ask a custodian of the airport, this lady who was I don't know I can't remember if she was mopping or sweeping, and she doesn't know English, and so she's really sweet and actually points me in the direction of the Delta Business Lounge, where I imagine most of the workers speak English. So I'm walking there, and two guys actually walk out of this door that I didn't even see. It's like it blended in with the wall, and I was like, whoa, like this is cool. So I ask them, and I say, hey, I was trying to go to Minhang. I didn't know that I was coming here to Pudong, and I don't have any transportation. So I asked them, how can I get back? And I said, are there any buses? And I told them that I can't contact the person who's supposed to help me in this situation. So one of the guys says, when I first start talking, he says, I don't know, like this. And the other guy says, I know English, like this. And so we're talking, and I tell him, and he says, well, I can actually take you. He says, I live near Minhang. And I'm like, I would rather almost cycle on a bike. No. I mean, he was really nice and all, but I just can't trust people like that. I mean, I have a good governor of people, and I didn't know him that long to tell whether he was good or bad. So I call my mom and I say, hey, there's no transportation. I don't know when in the morning I can get anywhere. And she's lost it, crying. What do I do? I'm just like, Mom, I don't know. And so she's crying, and I tell her that I've met a guy. And I'm sure every mom wants to hear this. I met a guy. He's going to take me somewhere. She was like, don't get in his car. Do not take that offer. So I'm stuck because, one, I'm beginning to trust this guy. Not that I ever didn't. It's just that I'm talking to him more, getting to feel him out. And then would I rather sit and wait like 5 more hours until like 5 a.m. when maybe something could become available? And still to this day, I don't know why those taxis were not there, like why there were no taxi cars. Anyways, I take him up on his offer, and I'm messaging my best friend, who also thinks I'm crazy. What are you doing? And she was like, how did you not know you were going to Minhang? And I was like, I don't know. So she's trying to comfort me. My dad is texting me for updates. What have you decided? And so I knew I wasn't about to tell him. And so I call my mom, and I tell her I've decided to go with this man. And so we're going through the employee exit of the airport where they all park, and he says bye to his buddy, and I go with him, and he grabs my carry-on, puts it in the back of his car. It really looks like a grandma car. I mean, it was really cute and classy, and I don't know, it was like old-fashioned, but it was really like modern. I don't know the brand of this car. It had a little Buddha that when he started it started like doing this, and so it was really neat. And I was just thankful that I wasn't having to walk back. So I was sitting there messaging my mom. She wanted to call and talk every 5 minutes of this ride, and it took about 45 minutes. It took an hour when I first arrived to Shanghai and went to my hotel, but he flew. He was on that gas, and I was kind of scared because I couldn't read the speed, and I was like, God almighty, like how fast are we going? So he doesn't know that much English, but enough so that we could have a casual conversation. So we talk about the NBA, and I haven't been into sports in many years, or about 3 years now. I haven't really watched basketball or baseball, and he didn't know much about American football, which I watched the most of. So it was kind of limited, and we were being nice to each other, and he was not creepy at any way. Like, he sat like extra close to his door, and I sat extra close to mine. So it was really comfortable in his car, and no tension. My mom was still crying every time I would call her. How are you? What's happening? Where are you? And I don't know where I am, but I know we're in the direction going to Minhang, and I'm fine. So yeah, we get to my hotel after a bit of trouble, and my mom is outside of the hotel, and this hotel is not nice, y'all. I mean, we had to stay here for 59 nights, so it's not nice. And it is the cheapest that my agency could find. We didn't pick this one out. My local agency did, and honestly, like, I would have rather had an apartment, but this hotel, I'm happy for it. The staff made it so much fun to live here for 60 days. And so my mom is outside of this hotel, and it's in a sketchy area, so I was like, Mom, you're not supposed to be out here by yourself. And she's crying. She's like, oh, and she sees me, and oh my gosh, oh boy. And she's like, she walks up to the guy and is like hugging him and crying. And she's like, she has money and she has the Chinese currency, and she says, here, take this money for, thank you so much for getting my baby back to me safely. And so I am standing there, I'm showing her that I'm fine, I'm not crying, but I am very emotional on the inside, and she's so glad to see me. We hug, and the guy says, well, I would like to take your daughter out to dinner if you're going to be here for, you know, the next couple of days. And I was like, yes, I actually will be. And we never went out to dinner, but I added him on a Chinese app, and we haven't spoken since. But this is a story of fright and belief in angels still do exist, because this was crazy. I talked to my dad later that night, and I forgot what my mom told him, but I told him that I was fine and that I talked to him in the morning and tell him about my job. But yeah, we told him how I got home when I got home to America. My mom was not going to tell him what I did, and he was just glad that I found transportation. I'm not proud of that, but I am proud that I felt out this person and trusted them, and that people like this in the world still do exist for people like me who are ditzes and don't understand systems. I don't know what would have happened if I wouldn't have reached out to them and one of them actually knew English, and I really hope he's doing well. And yeah, this is my crazy stolen on a Chinese airplane story. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more Storytime videos. I had a lot of fun filming this one, and I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Happy summer. Bye guys. And I just want to add that this night I was back, and my mom and I stayed up for a while before going to bed talking about my job and how the ride home went. Yeah, she woke me up that night crying periodically, so I'm really thankful for her and that I have a person who cares enough about me to worry that much and be so thankful that I'm back, and I was thankful to be back with her. So this is the end, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.